What's up, guys? Should be live. Day 2 of our 30 chats, 30 days. We're here with retrospect of our 30 fantastic follow-up to Ponga yesterday, and really just a highlight of a week full of highlights. It's gonna be a fun week for sure with all these conversations. But Retro, right off the bat, tell the people how they can support you, where to find you, and stuff, and then we can hop into the conversation.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I actually listened back to the one you did with Ponga this morning. That was a good chat. But underscore retrospects on Instagram or just retrospects on YouTube. That's the places you can get in contact with me. See my very infrequent content, and I'm a little more active on Instagram for sure because that's where I run like a majority of the business through. But the YouTube stuff I got to get back to doing more consistently. But I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course. And we'll talk a little bit about the YouTube stuff because more recently you've been doing like a once a week sort of live stream for a couple hours, which has been really cool. You've been looking into market stuff and all that fun jazz. So nice to see you a little more consistently being on YouTube and making content for us all. But
Yeah, I
yeah, if you
appreciate you
guys,
being supporting.
okay, yeah, if you guys sealed Japanese Pokemon cards. Retro's your guy. We might talk a little bit about some of the news that came out today from the government that might make it a little bit more difficult for that type of stuff. But yeah, Retro's the guy for basically all of your sealed Japanese Pokemon card needs. So definitely check him out on Instagram. He posts just about every day, maybe twice a day, price lists on what you currently have available, what prices. You have all sorts of positive references. So yeah, definitely the guy to go to for that.
Yeah, I
Um,
appreciate the shout out, man. Thank you.
yeah, of course. So I was watching a live I was watching part of your live that you did just a couple days ago, I think on Monday. And you were talking about your goals. You've talked about it a few times, but your goals for this year sales wise. And crazy number. Crazy number. But it like you hear it and you're like, damn, really? And then you say how far along you are already, and it's like, oh yeah, okay. Like he'll, if he just keeps it up, he'll definitely hit it. But I say crazy number because it's literally $5 million in gross sales this year in Pokemon cards. A large majority of that, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like a large majority of that is your sealed kind of distribution business from Japan to people here in the U.S. Um, so talk a little bit about how you scaled basically from probably more where I'm at to last year you had what $1.5 million in sales, and then
Yeah.
this year wanting to push it all the way to 5. Talk about what's that process even look like?
Um. Well, like I did not expect it. Obviously, even last year, I just kind of like kept going, and even like during last year, I mean, I was applying to finance jobs. I was like going to school full time, and so I was kind of at like the beginning of last year, kind of the plan was to migrate into more of like high end, um, like basically raise my average sale price on eBay and only deal with like the most expensive cards, and then like have a full time finance gig, basically like be a wealth management advisor full time. Um, and things just started clicking. I met like a local guy and realized that he kind of needed like large volume of singles, boxes, all that sort of stuff. So I started working with him, and that kind of like opened my mind to like, oh wow, like this, maybe other people need this. And a lot of it was like shooting my shot and just like reaching out to people and being like, hey, here's what I can offer. If this interests you, let me know, and maybe we can work something out. And a large part of it I just attribute to finding people that are consistent, and I like from other industries that I've worked in. I've worked in other industries where people um, can be very financially successful, can grow really large businesses with very very little to no business acumen and very little to no like professionalism, and also like, just like willingness to burn bridges and like not necessarily like look at things in the long term. And so moving into cards, I mean, it's the same exact thing, right? Like, I mean, there's so many people you could say like, oh, I remember hearing that name in 2021 and all that, and like you never hear about those people anymore, right? And people fall off very quickly. Especially maybe more of like the streamery type stuff, right? It's difficult to find people that are like maybe more consistent and maybe more professional, just because a lot of this industry is, I don't want to say unprofessional because that's not true and that's not like a fair characterization, but it's easy to get far in this industry not being like not holding yourself to like a high degree of professionalism, if that makes sense. And like this industry almost awards or rewards people that are maybe more of a character and not necessarily like a professional businessman, if that makes sense, right? Like a lot of these people that are doing really big numbers are characters, right? And they're not. But it's like, is that scalable? Is that going to last for like 3 to 5 years? I don't necessarily know. So like when I find somebody that has their crap together basically and is someone that I know that like I can rely on and will do good honest business with me, I will like lock in on that relationship and make sure that like I keep that relationship healthy. And even if I make like slightly less percentage dealing with that person than I could dealing with somebody else, the trade-off for me is a no-brainer because it's like, okay, well, I can rely on you. That's something I can build on. Like that's a concrete foundation. Like you can't build, you can't scale if you don't know if your next order is going to be paid for, right? Like you don't know like so yeah, I mean that's a large part of it. And to be completely honest, like just with the wholesale stuff, like when I started that, I didn't know there would be like a ton of demand for it. The main goal with it was just to provide like basically I've done the work, like I've gotten scammed. I've dealt with all the stuff that comes with dealing with buying from overseas, and I've kind of like taken those L's and those bruises over the past few years. And so it's like, okay, well, if I can sort of like be that buffer for people and, make sure that I'm only dealing with people that I know are verified because I've spent years and years figuring that out, then if I put like a little bit on top and can kind of be this like trustworthy intermediary for people, maybe I can spread Japanese Pokemon to like a larger audience because I can only do so much like grading cards and putting them up on eBay. The people like buying those cards, they want those cards already. But like your average person just going into a card store might not even like know that Japanese Pokemon is accessible and might not even know that like Japanese Pokemon is like really good quality out of pack or anything. So it's like if a person just goes into a store and I can provide that store with a booster box and this person can come in and be like, oh wow, like I can open Surging Sparks for $250 or I can open Super Electric Breaker for like sub 100 and still pull like a really nice looking Pikachu that actually might 10 when it comes fresh out of, you know what I mean? And it's like maybe that creates a Japanese fan. Maybe that like provides people exposure to, and like then obviously
Yeah.
like Japanese has like a lot of exclusive cards that English doesn't get and vice versa. And so the goal with it was just to kind of see like I know this stuff sells because I've been selling it on eBay, right? But it's like if I can provide that and put that in front of people and potentially like create a new fan base or like give people a cheaper option for a higher quality product, like maybe that would be attractive to people, but I had no idea that it would get as big as it is. And some of that is through networking and growing the business and all that stuff. But like a lot of it too is like Pokemon's just doing the work, right? Like Pokemon is massive. It's exploded over the past couple of years, and they've been putting out really really good sets. Like pretty much after Stellar Miracle and Night Wanderer, like everything started getting really good. So that's kind of been part of it too. But yeah, man, sorry for ranting, but I
Oh, you're
appreciate
good.
the kind words and like I'd be lying if I said that like I planned this all along. Like like I said, I mean like last year I was literally applying to jobs like and I was in school up until last quarter. Like I'm not going this quarter anymore because I like completely cut it off. But up until last quarter I was still in school and just finally kind of decided like I need to focus 100% on this. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, yeah. You're kind of like the gate in the fence that people don't want to cross. Like people don't want to. Most people hear about getting scammed, hear about, all the different things that can happen when you buy stuff overseas, and they just don't want to. They're like, no, I don't want to. They don't want to cross the river. They don't want to jump the fence. You kind of build the bridge or put a gate in the fence and are like, yeah, come on in. I'll source it for you. I have all these like great feedback and everything, and you know that when you get stuff from me, it's going to be legit. So yeah, I mean, you're providing a service just like a lot of us that flip cards. I feel like provide a similar service where it's like a lot of people don't want to ship their cards out. They don't know how to package them. They don't want to take the time, and that fence is getting lower with GameStop and stuff like that. But they thank you Spat for the $1.99. Appreciate it. Um, but yeah, you're providing a service. You're helping people get what they want, and that's always going to be a positive thing for consumers. So that's awesome. Was this so? You kind of touched on this, but I'll ask it anyway. With the wholesaling Japanese product, is that something that you searched out people to see if you could do? Was it something that you just kind of knew the people already and you reached out to them? Was it just kind of fell in your lap, like the opportunity was just someone reached out to you? Like, how did that opportunity arise or present itself in a way that you could take advantage of it?
Well, like a lot of it, to be completely honest, was like meeting, like I said, like meeting that local person and just kind of realizing like, okay, well, like you need cards. Do you ever need boxes? Like I used to work in product acquisition, and there was kind of like, I mean, not kind of, there was kind of like a script that I ended up like writing for the company, and it was basically sort of like I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like a probing sort of like whenever you go into a business meeting, you could be thinking like, okay, like our business meeting here today is for I have 10 PSA 10 cards and you're gonna buy them at like this pre-agreed upon price. But then when you get there and you start talking, then it's like,
Mm,
well, what goes good for you? Like what sells good for you? Like what do you need more of? What's your biggest bottleneck? Did you have anybody that you know that needs something? Like who is your biggest customer? What are you selling to them? And you start asking all these like probing questions. Like that's
yeah.
probing maybe sounds like a weird word, but like
Well, no,
you,
yeah,
you
it's
start
yeah,
asking you start asking all these questions, and that can sort of like open up other opportunities. So you go into the meeting thinking like I'm going to sell you these 10 PSA 10 cards, and it turns into like, okay, well, I have a bunch of stuff sitting at home that like I don't need anymore for, whatever reason that you actually need and have an outlet for. And so then that creates more business and more business, and that sort of just like compounds and compounds over time. And so that's where like a lot of this has I mean, I knew 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I mean, I remember saying this in like in Discord voice chats and just talking to the homies and stuff. I was like, grading cards cannot be the entire business model. It's great, like it can make you a ton of money, but like if you want to grow and grow and grow forever, like that can't be it. And at the very least, it's like, okay, well, maybe I start to offer raw cards. Maybe I start, like there has to be maybe like, people sell all sorts of play mats and decks. I mean, there's all sorts of exclusive stuff from Japan that you could get into, but it's like you're going to be capped out at a certain point just grading or just grading cards to sell on eBay. I should say like there's other outlets and like other ways you could get rid of them or selling in bulk and mystery boxes and auctions and consignments. Like there's ways that you can scale it, but like the entire business model, if you want to continually grow year over year, can't just be like I buy cards, I grade them, I send them to eBay. Like maybe that is potentially scalable infinitely, but like it's a lot of work, and at some point like you need to hire somebody or you need to like cut off like other things in your life to sort of focus on that like 100% of the time. And so I knew that like other things needed to be added, and that's why I started like asking those questions. And I came to realize too that like the not only the safety, but like there are other intangibles that you can offer to people, and you would think too like, oh, these guys are massive businesses, why would they ever buy from me? Like they already have connections, and sometimes it's price, but sometimes it's like other intent, like for a majority of my orders, like a lot of the time, depending on where you are in the United States, like I can get orders to you in like 2 days. You know what I mean? Because like my main buddy that I deal with has like an account with, or not an account, but like a contract with FedEx to where he gets like discounted shipping. So I pay up slightly. He pays less, but I still have to pay up slightly for like 2 day shipping, FedEx 2 day international, but people are sketchy buying from Japan. And like when I buy stuff from Japan that isn't from my buddy, like it doesn't take 2 days. It takes way more than 2 days to get here. And I'm in Washington where there's like a port, right? Like in Seattle where like things come in from Japan. So like it's quicker than if you're in the middle of the country, but I can get stuff to the middle of the country in like 2 to 3 days. So if you're a game store and you place an order and I get stuff from Japan to you in 2 to 3 days, even if you can go buy boxes from somebody else for like $1 or $2 cheaper, who cares about $1 or $2 cheaper if I got you the boxes in 2 days and you can put them on your shelf and make $20, $30 a box, right? So like
Yeah.
you start thinking about all these or like same thing with the singles. It's like I don't sit like when I source for these streamers, I don't sit and pick out gradable copies. Everything that they order goes straight to them. Now, if I wanted to get greedy and sit and pick out like, ooh, this could CGC pristine 10 or whatever, then it's like, okay, well, over time, they're going to stop dealing with me because I'm picking out all the good copies, right? So it's like I'm making slightly less money. But again, back to the point I made earlier, like I value the business relationship. I'm
Mm.
totally okay with them making a ton of money. I'm happy if they hit pristines. And in fact, part of the reason that they deal with me or potentially pay up a little bit more is because they're getting good gem rates and good pristine rates from me, like when they buy stuff. So it's weighing that like back and forth, right? It's like weighing those intangibles of like I don't need all the money, like I prefer the safety. And so like for me to have like the safety and the guarantee of the good business relationship doing like, long-term business with somebody that I can rely on, they can rely on me on the other side of it. But if I got
Yeah.
really greedy and was like, you get what I'm saying? So like only like when you're smaller, it's all about dollar amounts. It's all about dollar amounts. But the bigger and bigger and bigger you get, when you start to do scale, you start to realize that like the intangible stuff is almost worth more than the tangible stuff. It's like I personally know I could go buy boxes for cheaper elsewhere, but I'm at risk of getting scammed. Way higher risk of getting scammed buying boxes elsewhere, right? Like Mercari and like whatever, right?
Mm. Yeah.
If I save $5 a box buying elsewhere and I get scammed on one case, that's it. And there's no recourse, right? So it's like, okay, well, I saved $5 a box, but the one time you get scammed, how many boxes does that wipe out of the profit? You get what I'm saying? Like if you get scammed
Yeah.
on one case and you lose $1,000, you just lost 200 boxes worth of the $5. You get what I'm saying? So like the
Yeah. Yeah.
intangibles matter, right? And so people don't really weigh those when they're smaller because it's all about like, okay, this guy has it for 85, but I can get it for 80, so I'm gonna buy it for 80. And like I get that, but just me personally, like I've been burnt a lot, and so I value the intangibles a lot, and I think that's why other people value those too, is because a lot of these guys are way, way bigger than me. They definitely can't afford to be dealing with any BS or orders getting held up or people canceling. That's another thing that's gotten crazy with Japanese sellers too. Is like, dude, I remember the Unagaba packs was a nightmare. People got canceled on.
I had a
People,
bunch
dude,
canceled.
and
Yeah.
it was funny too because these massive people on eBay had like 10,000 feedback, and they were willing to risk a 10,000 feedback eBay account to jack the prices of Unagaba packs up like $5 to $10 a pack. Crazy, crazy stuff. So it's like, you had all these people canceling orders and doing all this stuff that they weren't supposed to. And it's like, dude, if you're a business, if you're a streamer, if you're an LGS or whatever, like you can't afford to have 1,000 boxes canceled. You can't afford to have like 1,000 Unagaba packs canceled, and then they jack the price up on you, and you're paying games and not playing games, and now you have to wait another like week or two, for them to get this. So it just, I get it. I didn't get it when I first started, but like now I get it. Like I really like price is not everything, and
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I don't know. I've been ranting. I've been
No,
ranting.
I think well, I definitely understand what you're talking about. And I think once you get to a certain level and you're doing more volume, you can sacrifice more on like the profit percentages because you're just overall doing more. So you don't need the 50 plus profit on every card that you create and flip. Maybe you could take a 30 because you're flipping 10 of them instead of just two of them, because you've grown to a point in which you can get to that. And then, like you said, you start to focus more on mitigating risk essentially and looking at those different things and being like, okay, I can get this faster here. I can get, I don't have to worry about getting scammed. Maybe I pay $3 more a box, but it's worth it, So I definitely understand what you're saying with that for sure. Let's go through quick. I'll say hi to some people in chat before we hop back into the next part of the conversation. We got Hoodoo TCG, Son of a Merc, Pokey Chef pulling in, Spats, FN Viking, Booster Boys Cards, and Danizard. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining us. Yeah, And going back to what you said about kind of probing when you're buying stuff from somebody, 100%. Like there have been collection purchases that I've had where I will be buying someone's collection and I'll say, "Oh, do you know anybody else who has uh Pokemon cards or whatever?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, my brother has a bunch of Pokemon cards. Let me call him quick and I'll hook you up with him and maybe he'll want to sell." And then it's like you don't do that if you just show up to the police station, hand over your money, grab the cards and leave. Like you got to have a little bit of conversation and business acumen and like you said probe a little bit to open up more opportunities, and it sounds like you did that to a very successful degree. So Retro, thank you very much for gifting the subs. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
for sure. Subscribe to Java, folks, if you're not already.
So Dan Azar's bringing up the elephant in the room. We talked about it a little bit before we went live. Are we going to talk tariffs? I'm not typically one for political conversations online, but our favorite Japanese site usually takes longer than a day to consolidate and ship packages. So we don't have to get political, but we can talk a little bit about tariffs. So we talked a little bit. It sounded like, well, you put something on your Instagram that I read before actually going live here tonight, that you're kind of like, you know, if tariffs happen, they happen, and unfortunately, like uh, customers will have to pay, the 10% or whatever they might be if their boxes get hit. So, is that how you're kind of operating with that at the moment? Is kind of putting the tariff fee more on the consumer purchasing at this point?
Yeah, I mean, like as of right now, like no, but like I know the customs limits for every country that I deal with, and I will pay up for ship. Like Australia, for instance, like when I send stuff to Australia, Australia works out to it's 1,000 AUD is like the limit, right, for imports, and then like anything above that, you're gonna get hit with like I think it's like a 10% fee or something like that. So if I'm shipping to Australia, I will break and 1,000 AUD isn't like a ton. I want to say that's like maybe $700-800 USD or something like that. So I have to break the packages up into like smaller packages to make sure, and like I will pay up for the extra shipping so that people don't get hit with like the customs fees. And then same thing for the United States with FedEx. Like as long as it's under 2,500, I can get it. Uh, I can get it to people, and no one's ever had to pay customs fees dealing with me. And so like I pay up for shipping, even if like someone places like a really big order, it'll get split into multiple tracking numbers. And I'll pay up for the extra to make sure that people don't get hit with like the extra customs. But tariffs is like a completely different deal. Like the $2,500 thing, it won't matter. Like it could be $100 and you're gonna get dinged. Like it sucks and it is what it is. As far as I understand it right now, it's 10% just like flat on any import coming in from any country right now. Not just Japan, but like literally. So like Chinese Pokemon boxes are gonna get slammed. Like Chinese actually might end up being worse because I know that that's more of a deal or whatever. But yeah, like as of Saturday, as far as I understand it, as of Saturday, anything that is not in the United States by Saturday, even if like you had ordered. Like if you go on Amazon Japan right now and order like an anime poster or something like that, if it doesn't get into the country, into the United States before Saturday, you're gonna get hit with that 10% tariff. And then the other like 24% that I guess that they were talking about, like that's not going to come into effect until like later than April. And I imagine I'd like to believe that like something will get worked out before like that lands. The 10% sucks. Like it's not great. I mean, 10% is like it's a lot. Like it's not I mean, if a booster box is $100, like now it's 110, right? So like that's not an insignificant amount of money, and like with the way that like Pokemon is already right now with like English product being tough to get and stuff like that, it's kind of a nightmare, to be completely honest. If you're outside of, of the United States, so if you're one of my customers from like Canada or the UK or something like that, you're fine. But anybody in the US, as of Saturday, is going to get hit with that 10%. So as of right now, like tonight is the last night that like I'm accepting orders, and I already talked to my buddy, and I was like, hey, everything has to get here basically like before Saturday because this is what's happening, and he was like, yeah, okay, like we'll work it out. So yeah, starting tomorrow, and I'm gonna order some stuff. So I'll probably on Friday, like I'll place an order and have some stuff sent to myself just to like see what happens and like make sure that like that's actually like what went into place before like I figure out what I'm gonna do with customers or whatever. But yeah, I mean like I just to become like I don't make 10%. So like I can't afford to like eat 10%. You know what I mean? Like I have to pass that on. The good news is like for a while, like probably for like a couple of weeks, people will be cheap on eBay. But after that, when they realize that they can't like replace their stock for cheap anymore and they are subject to tariffs too, things are gonna rocket. So like just and I'm like I'm not trying to tell anybody to FOMO, like I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do, but I'm just like me personally, like before I hopped on this call, I just ordered a ton because I'm hedging my bets with the potential that like, okay, not only the 10%, if the 10% goes into effect, but what if the 24% goes into effect on top of the 10%? Then we're talking about 34%,
And it's
right?
just
So
like,
like, yeah,
shut it
then
down.
at that, yeah, exactly. Like at that point, it's like, oh my God, like what a nightmare. So I'm hedging my bets and buying a bunch of boxes for me personally just in case like that happens. I want to have a bunch of 151 and I want to have a bunch of terrestrial and stuff like that like in stock, and like it's not gonna last. You know what I mean? Like it's not gonna like if that actually happened, like that stuff would be gone immediately, and like that's not something that I can like run a sustainable. I mean, just to be completely honest, like unless the market adjust and okay, so like here's how it would potentially play out in my head, like worst case scenario. If the 34% went into effect, a lot of people are going to be pissed. People are already going to be pissed about the 10%. But if the 34% goes into effect, so anything that you import from Japan gets hit with 34%, a lot of these Japanese boxes are not going to make sense to buy anymore because they're going to be like so expensive that people are just going to say, okay, we'll buy the English. Now, on the other side of that, a large part of the reason that Japanese boxes are the prices they are is because there's so much American demand for the boxes. So now if like Americans aren't buying those boxes anymore, but Japanese Pokemon has been ramping up supply because of the increased demand because like boxes aren't easy to find like the good sets like boxes are not easy to find on the ground in Japan. So it's not like people are going into stores in Japan picking up 151 for 4,000 yen and then turning around and selling it to people in America for over $100 a box. Like that's not happening right now, right? Pokemon Center is completely sold out of like all its booster boxes, so it's just similar to what's going on in America right now. And what I think could happen is like prices would start cratering on those boxes because it's like, okay, well, now it costs 34% to import. No one's buying them anymore. And now these people in Japan that have like a bunch of inventory that they're sitting on are stuck with all these boxes. And so prices would potentially come down and normalize. Yeah, dude, it's a nightmare. But like just to be completely honest, if prices stayed the same, like they didn't move at all on boxes and 34% was like a reality, I I don't know if I could continue to do it the way that I'm doing it right now. Like I don't know. And to be completely honest, like I don't know if there would be like demand for it because at that point it's like people would just buy English, and so then maybe that pushes the price on English stuff up, and English sees like another gap up, and yeah, I don't know. Like to be completely honest, like it's a stressful day, and it's not just like me with the boxes. I mean, it's literally anybody that sells Japanese Pokemon cards. Like if you have to pay 34% to import a raw card from Japan, like it's over. Like it's over
Yeah.
with. And that's going to push up the value of like all of our inventories in the short term, and especially like the rare, harder to get cards and all that sort of stuff. But by the time like that happens, people are going to come through, buy out your eBay, and then like you have nothing left. And you can't turn around and like replace that stuff. So oh yeah, yeah. Like I
Yeah.
don't mean to be a negative. I don't mean to be a
No,
negative Nancy.
could
And I
definitely,
hope.
it could
Yeah,
definitely shake things up and become, it would be a very interesting case study to watch it all play out and see exactly how this type of thing affects like a collectibles market. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I hope it's just like a bar. Like I don't want to get too political either, but like I hope it's just like a flex. Like I hope it's like a hey, like I'm serious about this. Like you guys need to play ball or whatever. And then behind the scenes they do whatever they're gonna do, and then a week from now, 2 weeks from now, things get worked out because that's kind of like historically what's happened as far as I understand. But And Japan's kind of a random one because like Japan isn't one of those ones that's like always in the news. Like you don't always hear about like us beefing. Like we have no beef with Japan. Like the only
No.
real thing that I think that they're talking about is like on auto manufacturing because like obviously a lot of the biggest brands in the world are Japanese, right? Like Toyota and Hyundai and all that sort of stuff. And so
Yeah.
I think that that's probably more where it would be focused. I would hope that they wouldn't put like a 34% tariff on trading cards, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's wild.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Shug says retro is a better Japanese plug than me, and I live here. uh, let's see. Japanese seller, me included, need to consider the reacquisition of all this product. Reacquisition? What do you mean? What is what does he mean?
Yeah, I mean to be honest, like I kind of like had a preliminary little talk with Kai, and I might try to work something where like I would get stuff like sent to Australia and then have stuff sent from Australia to the United States
Oh,
to like
gotcha.
to potentially sort of like, but that would just be, I mean, at that point like I can't offer 2-day shipping anymore, right? So like I would
Yeah,
just have
you'd
to
be
have
paying like a
like,
double shipping.
yeah, I would have to have like so much inventory just like on hand in Australia and like, yeah,
So
I don't know,
basically,
man. Like
like trying to reroute it around the tariff countries, essentially. Yeah. Okay. That. Yeah.
yeah, because at that point, like I could get it imported into Australia for no tariff, and I would just have to pay a little like up a little bit for like shipping to like break the orders down into like sub 1,000 AUD. And then I would just have to pay the 10% flat from Australia to the United States. So that would save 24%. So that would be pretty huge, but that would be a pretty big logistical undertaking.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens.
Oh.
But what a
Yeah.
day.
So
What a
so
day.
he's so he's saying the cost to acquire Japanese boxes after we sell through our current inventory. So the idea of you have an inventory, you sell through it, and then whatever happens with these tariffs, and then do you even like I guess we kind of already talked about that, but like do you even sell Japanese anymore? Does anyone even want Japanese anymore? What happens to demand? Like all that stuff that we mentioned earlier. Um yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it'll
if
be
I was like a Japanese seller that had like inventory on hand in the United States right now, um, I probably like I should probably do it right now. Like I'm probably gonna delist everything that's not MetaZoo from my website. And like I said, like I'm buying a bunch of boxes right now to just sort of because like there is no avoiding that 10%. Even if they roll it back, like it goes into effect on Saturday. So like you're not, if you don't have anything coming into the country before Saturday, that 10% is a guarantee. Like that's not a question, that's like a guarantee for all countries. So
yeah.
for me personally, like I'm not I'm not taking deals on like I'm not offering people deals on like direct to consumer stuff. And if that's your primary business model, like if you're selling through a website or something like that, like I would probably go on my website right now and jack prices up 10%. Because like again, like right now people are going to be cheaper on eBay, but that's not going to last forever because these people do not have thousands and thousands and thousands of boxes. They're going to run out because they keep maybe like 200 boxes on hand. But then when the tariffs hit and people realize that, how many people are going to flock to eBay to buy these boxes now because they're a better deal? And then those stores sell out and then they can't go replenish their inventory for as cheap anymore, and they have to pay the 10% on top of it. And the USD just fell off a cliff against the yen. So the dollar's
Oh
getting
no.
weaker against the yen on top of the 10% that you have to pay on top of that. So yeah, I mean, like for me, not trying to tell anybody what to do, but like I definitely like wouldn't be giving people deals at least in the short term because it's you're not going to be able to turn around and replace that inventory for the same price. So yeah,
It's rough
crappy
out there right
situation,
now.
man. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks.
um okay, so let's talk a little bit about content. So what have you been trying to do? What's your goal with is it just like go live weekly and talk to people and do a Q&A or talk about markets or what's been the goal with your new lives that you've been doing here recently? And YouTube and all that.
Yeah, like I want to. I mean, ideally, like if in a perfect world, I'd like to be pumping out like 2 to 3 pre-recorded videos a week. But just like as of right now, with the way things have been, like I haven't, like I kind of have to shuffle things around to be able to make time for that. The live stuff specifically, I still really enjoy finance. Like I watch markets all the time. I watch like out of content I consume, I would say like 80% of it is finance and like 20% of it is like card market, collectibles market kind of stuff. So it's still like a heavy leaning towards listening to dudes from hedge funds and all that sort of stuff. And um, sometimes I worry that like maybe I'm like talking over people's heads, or what I'm saying doesn't really make sense to people, or isn't really relatable or whatever, like when I do talk the finance stuff. But I think like pattern recognition is extremely important, and I think like there's a lot of comparisons that can be drawn between like traditional financial markets and collectibles markets. And because ultimately like a market is a market, and a market is made up of people, and people have emotions, people act emotionally. And if you can understand that, if you can understand psychology, you can be successful in any market, whether it's cards, comics, stock market, crypto market, whatever. It's all made up of people, right? So I try to like draw parallels between things in traditional finance and collectibles markets, and make that more accessible to people. I think another thing too is like people in the financial world talk a lot in financialese. They'll say things that sound cooler than they actually are, and it makes it difficult for people to like digest that. So like for instance, people will say something like a basis point, right? And so they'll say like, oh, like the Fed just cut 50 basis points. And all that means is they cut half of a percent. But it sounds like you sound way cooler when you say basis points, right? And so
Right, right.
I think a lot of the time people like pontificate and will try to make themselves sound cooler than they are, and like speak in this like vernacular that makes them sound smarter than they are. And so I think if I can sort of like be down to earth about it and explain complex ideas in a very like digestible way, and be like, hey, like this actually isn't as complicated as you would think at face value, and you can apply it to Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
Like at least like I think that's interesting. I know that that's kind of like niche, and maybe like not something that's gonna make me like a Leonhardt level creator or something like that. But I don't know. Like I find it interesting, and it kind of keeps
Yeah.
it fresh for me. So um yeah, that's kind of like my goal with that is to help educate people on the financial market, and then bring that into collectibles and sort of like draw parallels and stuff like that. So I don't know. Hopefully people find it
Yeah.
entertaining, but
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. Taking complimented or complicated concepts and not really dumbing them down, but simplifying them and then applying them to Pokemon so that people can understand it. Yeah, I really like that idea actually. I don't think there's a lot of people out there doing that right now, at least at that level either. I think that people kind of talk around like concepts and stuff, but it's more simplified. It's more like people don't get into the nitty gritty of it. They just say, look at this graph, upward arrow type of stuff. It's like, why is it going upward? That's what I want to know. So yeah, that's a cool idea. Um, Chef is wondering, what YouTube finance channels do you watch,
so
or
I would
would you recommend?
say my favorite one is probably, they're just called The Compound, and they do shows like they do shows pretty much every day of the week. One of them, usually at the end of the week, they do like a pre-recorded like hour and a half long conversation with usually like a fund manager, a strategist, or something like that. And then they kind of, they have another one that's kind of not like a call in, but they'll take questions that people pre-email, and then they'll like bring on. So like when you like one of the wealth management firms that I applied to specifically, like they have like base level wealth management. So like you come in like traditional, like you would go to like a Merrill or anything like that. Like you come in, you say, hey, here's my goals. They give you a survey, you fill it out, and that sort of like determines your risk tolerance. And then after they sort of like determine what your goals and your risk tolerance are, then they run what's called a Monte Carlo simulation. And basically what that is so like let's say your risk tolerance is like, okay, well, I'm young, I'm making good money, like I'm willing to take like a decent amount of risk in my portfolio, because like even if things don't go my way, like I can make that up later in life, right? So like let's say you communicate that through the risk tolerance survey that you take. They're going to run what's called a Monte Carlo, simulation, and they're going to like pre-build a portfolio. So based on like what your risk tolerance is, they're going to pre-build like a portfolio allocation for you. So they're going to say, okay, like 80% goes here, 20% goes here, right? And then they're going to run the simulation, and that's back testing that portfolio. So they're going to show you what that portfolio constructed like specifically for you would have looked like over the past like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So you can kind of see, hey, if I would have like came into the office and asked to do this 30 years ago, what would like not only my gains have looked like, but what would the drawdowns have looked like, right? Like what would the volatility have looked like over the past 30 years, given like what I'm saying my risk tolerance is. And so again, like nobody can predict the future, but showing you like with the past 30 years of like what your risk tolerance would have looked like can kind of give
Hmm.
people like a okay. And so that's kind of like what base level wealth management is. But then they have there's so many other things. So like let's say you run a business and you're about to pass away and you want to like sell your business or you want to pass your business down or you want to like sell your house and then pass that cash down to like your heirs when you pass away and stuff like that. A lot of these wealth management uh, um, shops basically will provide like a la carte services, and so like they'll subcontract out like a CPA, right, or a tax attorney, or these different like professionals to sort of like help you figure out how to do that in the most tax effective way, right? And so they kind of do that on the compound. Like someone will ask a tax question and they'll bring on because it's run by the guys at Ritholtz Wealth Management, and they'll bring on like a tax professional. So if like someone's like, hey, like I'm 65, like I want to downsize my house, and there's going to be some cash left over once I sell my house and go to this other house, and I want to give that to my kids, like what's the most tax efficient way I can do that? And then they'll bring on a CPA and they'll be like, okay, here's your options, right? And so I think that that's really interesting, very very like dense, very
Yeah,
dense
yeah.
for sure, but like like that kind of stuff is interesting. So I really enjoy the compound. um and then these guys are more like traders for sure, but like just stock market TV. The guy, the main dude that runs it, his name is JC Perez, and he is super funny. Like, and back to the point of just taking complex things and making them understandable. Like he's just a goofball, dude. Like he's this huge personality, and like he constantly sort of like rails against trying to talk over people and trying to sound smarter than you are, right? Like this dude's a very experienced trader from Wall Street, but like when they asked they asked him some super complex question, and he was like it's a how could a overwhelming demand for stocks be bearish? He's like, if people are buying stocks, it's bullish. It's a bull market, right? Which at face value is like the dumbest, like most obvious thing ever. But he's like, why are we making this more difficult than it needs to be? So yeah, long rant, but those are probably two of the ones I find most enjoyable for sure.
Cool, cool. Um, Shug says I have a USPO box located in Japan. Cheat code. I would be surprised if a Japanese address, even shipping to your USPO box in Japan, wouldn't get tariffed. Because I
Yeah, I
assume
don't
it's a
know.
military base or it's in Okinawa. So, um, I'd be surprised, but maybe that's the cheat code. Send
Yeah,
everything through
we'll have
Shug.
to. I mean, if stuff gets really really dark, Shug, we might have to bring you on the retrospects roster. I might have to hire you. We'll see what happens. But
There you
yeah, man,
go.
hopefully it works itself out. This today has
Yeah.
just been oy oy oy.
So one other thing that I wanted to ask you about was I heard from a certain Australian acquaintance that we both have. He said that you're going to go to Japan this year, or that you'll be in Japan this
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
Um,
that's the goal. I think like it was like early October. I think was the kind of I think he's gonna go for like a month, over a month or something. I'll probably only be there for like a week and a half, but that's
well,
the
if you're
goal. Get to
there
go.
early October, I'll be there too.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
We'll have to link up then. That'd be awesome. I've never
yeah,
been, so I'm excited.
I'll be there from the 5th to the 15th or something like that. Um, so like 10 days. So yeah,
Okay.
if you're out there, that would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely hit you up for sure. I'm excited to go, man. I just want to eat. Like I want to do business stuff, but I just want to eat. Like I want to get the udon, the ramen, like the whole nine yards, the sake, the plum wine, like everything,
Yeah,
man. I'm excited. And of course like the nerdy stuff. I want to go to the arcades and do all the fun stuff that comes with that too. So I'm
yeah.
hyped.
That's awesome. Do you is any of it like planned out yet, or is it still just in the idea phase for the trip? Like, do you know what
Well,
cities you want to go to, or
yeah, I mean, so we'll probably get like an Airbnb, in whatever's probably like Tokyo or something, just like, most central, and then like sort of take the train everywhere. But uh, I do have family friends, and I know that they're gonna want me to like stay with them for like at least a day or two, and it's like very disrespectful to like sort of turn that down. So I'm probably gonna have to stay stay with them for at least a day. I mean, I want to see them, but when someone, as far as I understand, like when someone like offers you into their home, or like offers you a meal or something like that, it's like highly disrespectful to like turn that down in Japanese culture. So that is definitely not something I want to do. So I probably stay with them for like a day or two, go do some fun stuff with them. And yeah, I want to see like just all the architecture, all the nature, all that sort of stuff. A few suppliers that like I don't know personally, like I definitely like want to go have dinner with them and talk to them on the ground, and sort of like have that. I've had Zoom calls with them and things like that. So like I've seen them, they've seen me, but I think like in person is a whole different situation. So yeah, yeah, we'll see what happens. And of course, I got to hit some card shops. Probably
yeah?
won't find anything, but I still definitely like card shops for sure, and see what I can come up with.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think I'm planning to be in Kyoto for a couple days because Ibex is going to be in Kyoto. I don't know. Do you know Ibex?
I think
Um,
so. That
Moments
name
with
sounds
Nick,
familiar.
Dark Ibex on YouTube.
Okay, I
He
feel like
does
I've
like,
heard Dan mention him or something.
yeah, he does like vlog shopping videos over there in Japan and lives over there. I think he's from Switzerland, and he lives over there, but he has a car over there, so hopefully one or two of the days in Kyoto will get more out into the countryside and less, just staying in the city because that would be really cool. But yeah, so definitely let me know when you'll be out there, and we'll try and hook up at some point. That'd be cool.
Yeah, 100%. I'm excited. It seems like everybody's going towards the tail end of the year,
Yeah,
so should be fun.
fall is the perfect time to go. I've been spring and fall. Summer sucks. It's way too hot and muggy, and but yeah, spring is crazy busy because everyone wants to go and see the cherry blossoms and stuff, and it's a very popular time to go. But fall is like perfect. So yeah, good time to go for sure.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of humidity. I can do the heat, but like humidity, like, oh, I don't really care for it. So I
Yeah,
think fall will definitely be better for sure.
yeah, definitely. What's up, Mason? Welcome in. Ernie, welcome in. Ernie had some great recommendations that I took him up on in Kyoto last time when I went with my brother. It was good stuff. But yeah, that's gonna be really fun. Hopefully, I'm hoping to when I'm out there go to different card shops and stuff and try a little bit more this time. Usually I just walk in and I window shop and then I'm out because it's a little bit more. It's I'm less outgoing in environments like that where it's like barrier, language barriers. There's everything's behind glass. It's tough to, feel like you're not wasting people's time when you look at the fifth card and you don't buy anything. Um, so yeah, it's a little bit more difficult, but I'm gonna try a little bit more out there this next time and see if I can walk away with some cards to sell or grade or something. But
Yeah, 100%. And like especially in Japan even more so. Like here, I mean, I still feel bad here. Like if I go to a show or something, I try to like pre-grade as much as I can from the front before I ask people, and it helps a little bit. Like you go to the same collecticons, like you meet people, they get comfortable with you, they recognize you from like YouTube or Instagram or whatever. It becomes nice to just be able to like, look, dude, like I'm not running off. Like it's gonna save us both a lot of time if you just let me like look at this entire case. Like I can step behind the table so other people can buy from you. But like if you just let me like pull out the cards I need to look at really quick, take a look at them, pre-grade them, like you know what I mean? But like in Japan, of course, it's like a completely different dynamic. And I would feel horrible like asking to look at like 20, 30 cards and then not buying anything because like
yeah,
nothing's gradable, right? So like that would kind of make me feel like a piece of crap. I probably would I'd probably buy like a bunch of cheaper stuff there too, because like that probably won't be behind glass, and I could just be like, hey, like I'll take 100 of this, 500 of this, that kind of stuff, and that wouldn't be like as big of a deal, but yeah, definitely for like the higher end stuff, like your SARs, like chase cards, all that sort of stuff, like it's probably all going to be protected, and you're going to have to ask somebody to come over, and um, I don't know if I really want to put my girlfriend through that. I mean, she's a trooper for sure, but like I don't know if I want to put my girlfriend through like an entire day of me like going demon mode at Japanese card stores. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I don't know. Maybe when I get there, I'll feel different.
So it'd be more of a vacation trip with some Pokemon sprinkled in, not a Pokemon trip. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, 100%. I've been wanting to go to Japan. Like I just outside of Pokemon in general, like I've always been like a really huge fan of Japanese culture and growing up with like Japanese friends. I was really into martial arts when I was younger. My mom was like a uh did judo at like a very very high level when she was younger. Got invited to the like Junior Olympics, all that sort of stuff. So like we've always just been like really into Japanese culture, martial arts, and then obviously like me being into like anime and Pokemon and all that sort of stuff. So I just like genuinely like appreciate the culture in the country. Pokemon is just sort of like the cherry on top, but yeah, I mean there's other stuff too that I've kind of been like buying and sort of establishing a position in outside of cards, and so maybe I'll look for like a little bit of that in Japan, but I think too, like maybe the first time would be good to sort of like feel things out, and then like once I've been once, then maybe the second trip I can be like, okay, I feel a little bit more comfortable. I know what card stores to look for and stuff like that, and maybe make the second trip more of a Pokemon focused trip. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. That's cool. Um, you're into anime. Are you watching anything right now? Anything new?
yeah, so I mean, I wish I had more time, but like the last one that like we watched the whole season of was like Kaiju number 8. That was like
Okay.
really good. I like that one a lot. And then I just started like the F1 anime. I don't know what I can't remember what it's called, but I'm really into F1, and so I was like, okay, maybe I'll watch this and see how it is. I need to catch up on My Hero Academia. I know that they pumped out a bunch of episodes like decent amount of time ago, but I haven't caught up on that in a minute, and I really like My Hero Academia a lot. Um, Jujutsu Kaisen I'm waiting on, and Black Clover, dude. I loved Black Clover, and I'm still waiting for them. I'm like they left it off on like such a crazy cliffhanger too. I'm like, please bring that back. I know they had some issues with like the animation studio or something like that, but I'm like, yo, like please bring that back. Oh, and then Daima too. I started watching Dragon Ball Daima because I'm a huge DBZ guy, so I need to finish that one too. But yeah,
Cool.
what about you? You watching anything good?
Yeah, right now, if you like all that stuff you just listed, I feel like you'll like Solo Leveling. That's like kind of a popular one right now. Second season is just finishing up, I think, this week. So I read the whole like manhwa or whatever the Korean manga, and it's really cool. I think it's it's solid action anime type thing. That's kind of the anime. I've been watching the TV show Dark on Netflix. That's it's a German show I think that came out a while ago. It's like a sci-fi time travel sort of mystery type of show. It's pretty cool so far. But
Have you seen Severance? Do you have Apple TV?
I tried signing up for Apple TV the other day because I wanted to start watching Severance, and there was something with like I have a MacBook, but they're like, "Oh, if you need to recover your password, you need a second Apple device." And I was like, "Well, I don't have a second Apple device." And then they're like, "Oh, well, we'll email you." And then I never got an email for resetting my password. So I don't know if I'll ever actually be able to sign up for Apple TV. But
Yeah,
yeah.
the Apple ID stuff is janky sometimes, but yeah, man, that show is crazy. I'm
Yeah.
Apple TV's got a lot of bangers to be honest, but like Severance is juicy for sure. That's definitely like sci-fi thriller suspense. I don't know. I really like it. It's good. And it's got a lot of like good actors in it too, for sure. Like there's a few people in there. I'm like, man, you guys need to be getting some awards. So
Yeah, I've wanted to watch that for a while. All I hear is good things. So Spat wants to know if you're coming to Chicago for Collecticon. I assume
uh that's like later in the year, right? Like
It's
it's like
actually
towards.
next week. There's two
Oh, okay.
Chicagos, so there's one in the fall, I
Okay.
think, and there's one next week. But
Yeah, the one in the fall, I'd probably be more able to attend. A lot of people seem like they might be going to Chicago, so I'd like to pull up to that one, but definitely not next week. This month is going to be nuts because Glory to Team Rocket is coming out here in 2 weeks, and
yeah.
we're going to Hawaii shortly after that. So
Ooh,
this is a
nice.
jam packed month for me. So
Hell yeah.
no Chicago this time, but I'll try to hit some shows towards Q3 or Q4 for sure. So sorry, Spat.
You're living large, man. You just went on vacation. You're going to Hawaii, and then you're going to Japan. You got all sorts of awesome stuff happening this year. That's awesome.
I mean, the last one we just went on was like a local one. It was only like
Hmm.
4 hour drive, so it wasn't anything crazy. But and we booked Hawaii last year because we went for a little bit last year too. But um, I don't know, maybe like making up for lost time a little bit. You know, like I was kind of going demon mode, dude, for a long time. Not really like smelling the flowers, not really taking like any breaks, any time off. Like yeah, so I think adding these things in is important for sure because you can just sort of like, work yourself to death. So it's
Yeah.
not healthy for sure. You gotta take time for the fun stuff for sure.
Yeah, you got to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You can't just work, work, work. You gotta enjoy it at some point.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
Shiz is wondering what's your favorite thing about being your own boss?
Yeah, I mean like that's I think like the uncapped upside, like I think like even when I was applying to like work in wealth management, I mean these were like some very high end firms, but the pay like wasn't crazy. Like it wasn't like life-changing money and it was just like and it's extremely high stress. Like when you're dealing with people's money, like there's no room for error. Like you have to be like on call all the time. Like I mean, you're at like a get together with your friends, and you've got a client calling you, being like, "Hey, like why are futures on gold down 3%?" Blah blah blah, and you have to like talk them off the ledge, and like it's not a not for like the faint of heart at all. So I was in my mind, I was like, okay, well I can keep doing the cards on the side, and like I'll just do this as like the main gig or whatever, but. Your upside is capped, and to me it's like if I'm going to provide value, like if I'm going to like in my mind, like I can't really turn my mind off. Like even today, like when I first heard about the tariffs, like my knee jerk reaction was like, oh crap. But then I immediately started thinking like, okay, if I absolutely like if the worst possible case stuff happened, like what would I do to pivot? Like what would I immediately like need to do? And so like I can't really turn my brain off on like coming up with new ideas. And I mean like there's stuff that like I have ideas on that like I can't even really move on right now because I don't have the time and like the like the logistical undertaking it would take and all that sort of stuff. But like I just feel that like I can outcompete whatever somebody else is going to offer me. And if I go work for somebody else's company and work to further somebody else's dream, I can't turn my brain off to like, how do I make this better? How do I optimize that? Like, how do I make us more money? And I'm only going to see a fraction of that like upside. Like if I create $10 million worth of upside annually for a company, they're not even paying me 10%. They're not even paying me 1% of that, probably. Like they're not going to give me $100,000 if I create $10 million in upside. You know what I'm saying? So like that's not like an attractive prospect for me personally. Like I feel like if I'd rather bet on myself and see what happens. And yeah, I don't know. So like that's kind of like I would say the best thing about being your own boss is just like uncapped upside. Like the value that you contribute is what you're going to get out of it, right? I mean, there's no safety net on the other side of that. Like if you sit around and eat Twinkies all day, like you're not going to do very well, right? But um yeah, I mean, if you work hard and grind it out and make some stuff happen, like you net 100% of that upside, and that's attractive to me. So
Yeah. Yeah, you get to see the direct you get to see how you directly impact positively your business instead of you can directly impact someone else's business and never get a bonus or never get a significant raise or never get no matter how hard you work because you're not in charge, right? So there's definitely a um I that was the thing that always drew me to want to have my own business, and luckily I do feel a lot of this having the business on the side is I've always been like a really hard worker, even in when I did retail, and I always saw all these people that just kind of just skated by, especially in retail, where it's like they're slow, but Target's not going to fire anyone because they just really don't. Like you have to basically steal from the company to get fired at Target. Like it's really hard to get fired in retail. So you see all these people just like sloughing around and not doing anything, but they're paid more than you because they were hired 2 years ago because it just gradually goes up over time. There's no way for you to kind of jump the line because you work hard. And some, companies are different or whatever, but I like what you said about like an uncapped upside for your own business. The amount of work that you put in is the amount of like success you're going to see at the end of the day if you're doing it right. But yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I mean not only that too, but like if you offer sort of like a potential change or something to the business, like if you're like, yo, this is super, and it's funny too because like the people on the ground like doing the work day in and day out, like they know that better than anybody. Like their manager is just sort of like a figurehead, and like they have their own BS to deal with, and like people are calling, yo, like I can't come in today, I'm sick, and then they have to figure something like they have their own set of crap they have to deal with, but like the people on the ground doing the actual work are the ones that understand what's going on the best. And so if you make a suggestion, you're like, hey, I do this every day. I'm telling you, if we did it this way, it would make everybody's lives a lot better. They're not going to listen to you. Like,
No,
especially in
yeah,
like a big corporate structure, like it's so slow moving and it takes like, okay, yeah, I'll run it up the ladder and like it never ends up happening, right? Versus like if you run your own business, and you go, hey, like this is really inefficient. I'm going to try something else. You can immediately find out whether or not that was a good decision. You don't have to wait for
yeah,
somebody to tell you like, hey, that's okay for you to do. You know what I'm saying? So like that's another thing about it too, is just like dealing with that like really clunky corporate structure of uh not necessarily. And like it's funny, you watch those like Undercover Boss or whatever, like those shows where like the guy comes in, he's like, I'm really going to listen, and it's like part of the reason that's like so entertaining is because that shit doesn't happen in real life. Like that does
yeah,
not like the dude at the Jeff Bezos. I mean, like maybe he is, but like Jeff Bezos is not listening to like the lowliest Amazon worker in the factory saying like, hey, we should package boxes, right? Like it's just not happening. So like when you run your own, especially like Pokemon business or whatever, like you can make like instant changes and like you get into the habit of doing stuff, but even like like little stuff every year, like I will try to make a change, like can I find penny sleeves for cheaper, can I find top loaders for cheaper, can I find bubble mailers for cheaper, right? And like even something as insignificant as that, like if I worked for another company and I was like, yo, like we're paying $50 for 100 bubble mailers or whatever it is, I know where we can buy the same quality bubble mailer for 35 for 100. Even if I'm saving you like a ton of money, you might not listen to me. Versus like if I do that and I'm like, okay, well now I found a cheaper source for bubble mailers, that instantly makes me more money. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah.
and that's fun to me too, is like constantly trying to figure out like how to not sacrifice quality, but make things more efficient, make things cheaper, all that sort of stuff. Like I enjoy being scrappy, I guess is the best word for it.
Yeah, yeah, and refining. You can look at parts of your business and you can reevaluate them every once in a while and be like, how can it improve? What can we do? And then you get, like you said, you can make those changes immediately. That is, yeah. Whereas a bigger company is like, no, we can't buy those bubble mailers because we have a contract with Uline that we have to buy these specific ones, and then there's all the corporate red tape and nonsense. Yeah, for sure. Um, Let's see. Thoughts on the current price of Team Rocket? I actually don't even know. Is it 200 a box or something like that right now?
Dude, it,
180?
it dropped it dropped a lot actually. Like the last quote I got was in like the mid to high 160s, I want to say. So like my short story, wait, like just wait. Like patience pays right now. Like Japanese people are very, very aware of the situation of what's going on in America. Like they know that English product is expensive. They know that it's hard to come by. They know that people are getting allocated, so they are trying to make as much money as possible off of you. So, dude, like Heat Wave was such like a nightmare for people, and I tried to tell people, and I just like, dude, people are just every day bugging me, and I'm just like, dude, like wait, like I promise you, you will save money, and then like, oh man, what a nightmare. And so it's the same thing with Rocket, and like some information that I got from one of my suppliers, they basically said that there was a large, I don't know if they're a company or if they're just like a group of individuals, streamers, businesses, whatever, but like a lot of people basically they said, okay, we're gonna buy like $5 million worth of rocket booster boxes, right? Like so they went around to all these card stores, they went around to all these distributors, and they were like, hey, we're gonna buy like 5-10 million dollars worth of these boxes. So that like kept the price really strong and like even drove it up a little bit. They backed out of like the entire order.
Oof.
So like it crashed basically like over the course, not crashed, but like it dropped like significantly over the course of like 3 or 4 days. And so like it was at 200, and now like I said, like the last quote I got was like somewhere in like the high 160s, low 170s. So I would just wait. I think it's gonna come down like closer to release, and like if it's already dummy expensive, then you tack on like the tariff potential on top of that. Like a lot of people are just not gonna buy it. They're just not. Like they're just gonna be like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna buy it because like I can't afford to buy 10 boxes at $200 or 20 boxes at $200. Like, I mean, that's a $4,000 order for 20 boxes at 200. You know what I'm saying? So, like, a lot of people are just gonna be like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't care how good the set is. Like, a Japanese booster box should not be $200, and they're just not gonna buy it, and that's gonna drive the price down further. And it's not to say the set isn't gonna be good. I think the set's gonna be insane. Like, I think it's gonna be absolutely like awesome. There's gonna be a lot of really cool cards that come out of it, but there's other factors at play here, and I think that if people can just chill for a little bit, like they'll save themselves a lot of money. Um, and I mean that's been the case with singles too. Like you buy out the gate, you get cooked on pretty much anything that isn't playable. Like the only thing I can really remember bouncing up the week after release is the Roaring Moon, and that was because it was like playable.
Yeah.
Everything else gets cheaper. Like literally everything else gets cheaper after release. So maybe like some ARs now that like illustration rares are getting stonked and stuff like that. Like I think the Misty might have come out like a little bit cheaper at release, and it might be up like $5 or $10, but it's like $5 or $10. Like it's like, aha, I bought it at 15 and now it's 20. It's like, okay, dude, like who cares? It's $5. Like
Yeah.
you think that's gonna matter in the long term, but like for the most for most stuff, like it just pays to wait for sure. And that I'm not incentivized to tell people that, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not incentivized to tell people to wait, because like I'm losing a percentage of business every time somebody messages me and it's like, hey, do you have pre-orders for Gloria Team Rocket? And I'm like, no, like I'm not going to put them up until a day or two before release. And they're like, okay, thanks. A certain percentage of people are going to wait, but a certain percentage of people are just going to go buy it elsewhere. And then if they get cooked and lose money, like that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help them. That doesn't help like the potential of like them coming back to buy from me in the future or buy from anybody else. So it's like I don't want to lose people money. I don't want people to lose money. Like I don't get any joy out of that, and I'm not incentivized to do that. And like I don't want that to happen. So, and not only that, but then like people get resentful towards like Japan or Japanese product. They start to blame. They're like, oh well, I got screwed out of this because like the Japanese market is so manipulated, and they start making up all these excuses, and like yeah, it's just not good for anybody. So
Do you think that a lot of people in the West apply um, normal prices for a booster box in English to a booster box in Japanese? Because it's pretty crazy to look and see that like a Destined Rivals booster box you can pre-order or right now for 200, and the Japanese also 200, and then you think about the MSRP price and it's like the MSRP of a Japanese box is 35 ish, and English is like 166, and it's like you're talking a box that's almost 10 times as like 6 or 7 times as expensive versus a box that's like 50% more expensive. It's kind of, I don't know. Do you think you think the market is just kind of uneducated on the Japanese boxes and what they really go for over there, or do you think the supply and demand is actually just that tilted?
well, I mean, like, I think there's so it's kind of like I think people get stuck on like the multiple ideal. People get stuck on like, okay, well, traditionally, if you can get it at Pokemon Center, it's this price. But it's the exact same way in America. If you can get it at Pokemon Center, if you can get it, it's that price. If you can't, it's not that price. So like we anchor to like, oh, well, in Japan it's like $45 a box. It's like, okay, well, in America it's $50 a box to go buy like an ETB on Pokemon Center. What are they selling for on eBay? They're selling for 200, and that's an ETB, not even like a booster box, right? And then you go to like Pokemon Center ETBs, and I think those are like what, like 400, 500, and those are $60. So it's like, yeah, like if you can get it at Pokemon Center, but like, can you? No, like you can't. And when market conditions are normal, like when you could buy Surging Sparks, Pokemon Center ETBs on Pokemon Center, Safari's almost selling the booster boxes for $100. And when that was the case, I was wholesaling Super Electric Breaker for like $39 a box. Okay, so like things find like that equilibrium based on like market conditions. Now, go on Pokemon Center in Japan. You can't buy anything, not even the crappy sets. Last time I checked, you can't even buy Night Wanderer. And who the hell is opening Night Wanderer? Like, like no offense, but like I'm just saying, like there's nothing real crazy to be pulling out a Night Wanderer, right? So it's the same exact thing, and like similar, like to English Pokemon, like you can't even buy like Shrouded Fable, as far as I understand, on English Pokemon Center. So and you can't, there are very few shops that you can go into in Japan and buy like you can't go into a shop. Like for a while Maggie's buy list was basically like what eBay was. Like Maggie was buying 151 boxes from the open market for what people could buy them for on eBay. And then they're going to take them into their shop and then they're going to mark them up. So it's not like people in Japan just have like this like amazing access to 4,000 yen booster boxes. Like that's just not the case. Like maybe the crappy sets, sure, but a lot of this stuff is just not available. Like you can't go and just pick up Terrestrial Festival for $45 like at every corner store. Like that's just not happening. It's the same exact situation as what's going on in America. And yeah, and so like I think people get a little too anchored to the idea that like, oh, this is what MSRP is. It's like that is such like a, it only matters when the market is cool. And like I said, like the market will even itself out. It'll work itself out. Like if it's available, if you can buy Pokemon Center ETBs, then you can go on Safari Zone and you can order Surging Sparks booster boxes for $100 a box or 650 a case or whatever it is. But as soon as like that dynamic changes and it's sold out on Pokemon Center, well now Surging Sparks is over $200 a box. Super Electric Breaker gapped up from like $39 a box to like, it's like in the 90s now or something like that, 80, high 80s, whatever. So but you can't go find Super Electric Breaker. You can't, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's the same exact thing, but the difference is like people in America want English product. No one in Japan wants English product. Everybody in America, not everybody, but like a lot of people in America also want Japanese product on top of everybody in Japan wanting Japanese product, right? So like
True, yeah.
that's the difference too, is like not only like not in America, not only can like you buy the product for yourself or buy the product and sell it online, but imagine like if you had a whole nother country worth of demand to sell that product to. You have a whole other country like worth of liquidity opportunities that you could sell that product to. Like we don't have that. Like if whatnot streamers or whoever is like, I'm not buying Crown Zenith packs anymore. Well, it wouldn't make sense for you to go buy like a 50 the Sea and Sky boxes, because you can't turn around and hit up somebody in Japan and be like, hey, you want like 50 Sea and Sky boxes worth of Crown Zenith packs? And be like, dude, what the hell? Like, no, I don't want that. I can go buy V Star Universe. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same. It's the same sort of thing. And if you can get it at MSRP in Japan, like you're getting lucky, the same exact way that you're getting lucky in America. And again, the only difference is like they have a whole other country worth of demand now. So hopefully that made
Yeah.
sense. I don't know if that was
No,
like
yeah,
kind of
that makes
convoluted.
sense for sure. For sure. Um, let's see. Pokechef just got his second package in. Thank you. Grimer had a question. So, how do you stay organized managing everything in your business ventures?
Um, lists, like lists for sure. Like every night before I go to bed, I have like a to-do list on my phone, and I'll like kind of update that before I go to bed. And then like when I wake up in the morning, if I like remember like, oh, I need to do this today or I need to do this, I'll throw it on the to-do list. or if I'm doing stuff and I get messages and people want to place orders and stuff like that, like I'll write that down on a to-do list. Like I can be like very like scatterbrained and kind of all over the place. And if I don't make like a list and narrow in on like one thing I need to do, okay, like that's completely done, cross it off, next thing, cross it off. And then like I sort of like order things on the to-do list based on how important they are, like how timely they need to be done, right? So like there's certain things that I've had on my to-do list for like months. You know what I mean? Like business cards and stuff like that. Like there's a lot like I need to make like a price list for like One Piece, you know, like I've been selling One Piece to people and stuff like that, but I don't post a price list for it. And so like I need to make a price list. So like doing that. And then like I need to get a TikTok started because I have a buddy that's like gonna run the TikTok for me and all that. So like there are things, but those aren't things that like I need to absolutely like I need to fulfill orders. Like after this, I need to get on and there's a bunch of people that are messaging me on Instagram about tariffs and can I place an order and all that stuff. So like I need to get that done. But like business cards doesn't need to be done tonight. I would like it to be done, but like it's not going to get done tonight. You know what I mean? And so ordering things based on like their importance, that personally really helps me out. And then just trying to make stuff as easy as possible, like optimizing processes and trying to like pinpoint parts that are it's like, okay, well, I hate this part of whatever it is I do. Is there any way for me to make that better or easier on myself, or like what do I hate about it and can I fix that? And so that sort of helps a little bit too. But also I would just say like not like recognizing when you're like biting off more than you can chew. Like I had an idea for a product, like a product that would be good for like the collectible space, I guess I'll say, but like I don't have time to develop that product and like do everything that I need to like some time down the line if like I hire employees and I have more time, like I definitely want to do that because I think it could be like big and I think it can make like a lot of money, but like it's um right now if I like tried to do that on top of everything else I'm doing, like I would burn out. And so it's just kind of like accepting like you can't do everything at once and yeah, just like prioritizing the stuff that like you can do without, you know, finding that even medium of like, okay, I can handle all this without burning myself out. So yeah.
Yeah, I heard in your last live you were shit talking spreadsheets, so I I'm definitely a person. I like to track all of the sales and stuff, and Retro's been on me about that for a while. A couple comments here and there, but yeah, I do. I like to track sales. I like to know how much I'm making on every card and stuff like that. Instead of I don't know. I just like seeing numbers, but
Yeah, no, I mean the visual is not, and then like certain things I do keep in a spreadsheet, like all the wholesale goes into a spreadsheet and stuff, and you know that makes it easier for taxes at the end of the year. But like the eBay, I mean that would just be like like grading cars would be such a nightmare to keep a, and you're gonna get the numbers anyways. Like if you're doing things right and you have a separate business account, it's just in versus out. You know what I mean? So like at the end of the year. I mean, it's fun to see like, ooh, I bought this Giratina for $17 and I graded it for this, and then I ended up getting like that's fun to see, but it's like you're gonna see that at the end of the year anyways, evened out over time. You might not see like each individual car what the percentage worked out to, but it's like, okay, I spent this amount of money, I got in this amount of money, I netted this. You know, and so you're gonna end up getting that at the end of the year anyways, but like trying to keep track and like especially if you're buying like a collection and then you have to break down like, okay, what percentage of the collection did I like I grade, what percentage did I sell right? It's just like that is so much work, so much work.
yeah.
Um,
Thankfully, I
so
haven't done the collection thing recently, but I will say one thing that I like. Okay, so I'll defend myself a little bit here. So,
no
like recent.
shade, no shade. Like I wasn't trying to hate on
No, I know,
anybody
I
at
know.
all.
I just giving you shit too. But, so today I sold a CGC 10 Pristine of the RCSV Star Gold from Brilliant Star, but it's the Japanese version, Starbirth. Um, and my ROI percentage is 120%. So for me, it's like, okay, if that card in that grade got me 120%, maybe I'll buy like 10 more of those and, you know, try again because that's a really high percentage. So it kind of informs like my next buying decision. Sometimes to be able to track that stuff and make sure that the percentages are worth, you know, buying and selling in that way.
I,
But
d- I do a similar thing, but I front load that. I built a calculator like 2 years ago. that has like different criteria built into it and different sort of like metrics that I need to hit. And so I will pre-pump all the numbers into that before I buy anything, and that tells me whether it's a buy or not. And then after that, it's just like it is what it is. And that's I think I talked about it on one live, but like everybody was talking about, and I mean, I was great in Celebration Charizard too, but like nobody was talking about the other ones. I was making a higher percentage return on like Blastoise than you could make on Charizard, and no one was touching Charizard. And when I went to, or nobody was touching Blastoise. And when I went to
Yeah.
shows, a lot of people still had those in binders for like $2 or $3. That would 10, and I would turn around and I would sell them for like 50, $60 on eBay, and I was making like 150% margin on the tens, and then they moved up, right? Like, and then when, so I had all these blasts because I, bought hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these copies, and then when the market moved up, now I'm selling them for like $80, $90,
Yeah.
right? So now I'm making like 300% margin and all that sort of stuff. So like I front load the percentage rather than like buying it, waiting to see what it sells for and what I made. It's like I can pre-see like, okay, what are they selling for on eBay? How much does it cost to grade? What's the cost of goods? Add it all together and immediately pump out the percentage. And then that tells me before, like, is this a buy or is this not a buy? So like there's no, and then on top of that, it's like, okay, well, is it a buy or not a buy? And then I get to factor in credit card points on top of it, right? So like I put everything on a credit card. All my credit card points, I just immediately scrape off the top and put them into a brokerage account. But yeah, so I do a similar thing. I front load it, right? And if the percentage is like really chunky, I'll go deeper on it, right? Because there's more spread. So even if the market corrects, I have more of a buffer. So, and then if the percentage like isn't big enough or whatever, then it's like, maybe I'll only like get a couple of these or whatever because it's a little more risky. The market has to move in my favor for this to make sense. But yeah, similar sort of thing, but like it's just a calculator. So yeah,
Yeah.
kind of on the same wavelength there.
Yeah, I really like those plays where everyone's focused on one thing and they're missing like the forest through the trees, I guess you say. Like everyone's focused on, what's past the forest because it's this pretty thing that they see in the background, which is like the Charizard, and then they miss the Blastoise and the Venusaur and the Birthday Pikachu and the Umbreon, and it's like, why aren't you looking at all this stuff too? But I guess that's good for us because then we buy a bunch of them and we grade them, and we make money on those. So yeah,
Yeah, a lot of the time, like liquidity is a factor too, so then like factoring in like liquidity of like even if the percentage spread is like really good, like weighing that against like how quickly the card is going to sell. Like I buy a it actually just sold, but like I bought a PSA 10 of like Team Rocket's handiwork probably like I don't know, 6, 7 months ago, and I got it for like $175. And at that time, like there was no sales at all, like literally none on eBay, and there was only like three listed. I think two of them are probably Steven, and they were for like really expensive. And I bought that card, and like my thinking was like, okay, there's no sales data. I'm gonna sit on this for a while because it's super niche. But Rocket's coming up. I bet people will buy this card. This is not a card you can go and like replace 20 times over in PSA 10. There's not a ton of listings up right now.
yeah,
So that's kind of factoring in. And then I think I ended up selling it for like 500 or something like that. But like that high percentage, but factoring in the fact that like, okay, well, there's no guaranteed sales. I don't know what this is going to sell for. I have to be willing to like sit on this and wait for it to sell at a certain point. So like that's factoring in intangibles and like speculation and stuff like that. And I definitely do less of that, but I expect a higher percentage return when I do stuff like that because it is more risky. Like there's no like Celebrations Blastoise. I mean, you put that up, it'll be sold in 15 minutes. You know what I mean? But like Team Rocket's handiwork from like a black and white set that is, that hey, that's not going to sell in a day. And I think, like I said, I probably had it listed for anywhere from like 3 to 6 months. So it took a while to sell, but percentage gain on it was good. And again, like I knew the rocket set was coming out and all that sort. So every once in a while, it's fun to sort of like take those flyers and see what happens, especially with like the vintage stuff. And in this market, like a lot of the inefficiencies are getting like sort of like weeded out. Like a lot of vintage stuff that I've been sitting on for a while that I'm like, this is too cheap, but I'm just not going to lower the price it's selling. And if I have multiple copies, like even though like it's taken forever for the first copy to sell, as soon as the first copy sells, I'll raise the price on the second copy because it's like, okay, well, this is just the start of this getting exploited. And I
yeah,
know that I can't turn around and find this card again for the same price because prices are up in Japan. So, um, yeah, I don't know. It's just sort of like factoring all that in when you're making your decisions, and
Yeah.
if you're right more than you're wrong, you'll do okay. So
Yeah, I was watching some auctions the other day and I was like, I wish I would have just bought them all because I think it was Radar. He was auctioning a bunch of primes, level X's, like all these Japanese like ultra rares and PSA 9. And of course, you probably know at this point that they went for like 35 to $45. And it's like that to me is just insane because those cards probably have less than 200 in the pop, less than 500 in the pop, and popular Pokemon, primes and level X's, but like just nobody's looking at them. Nobody cares about them right now. Who maybe nobody will ever care about them, but $45 just seems wild for a popular Pokemon Prime card in a PSA 9. But
there's a lot of stuff, man. Like I would say, like for people that are collectors, man, like there's still stuff to be found. Like there's still really good stuff that is not easy to replace. That's fairly low pop, especially on the Japanese and maybe on the English side too. Like I know English has seen a pretty crazy run up, but dude, I remember looking at like some English XY and black and white full arts and PSA 10, and they're like $200 for like the Espeon from Breakpoint, and I was like, what? Like English is impossible to grade, and even at that time, the Japanese version was like 350 to 400. And so I'm like, yo, like the English version is way harder to grade. XY boxes are dummy expensive. Espeon's a popular Pokemon. So like, and again, like I don't know if those prices are still the same because I don't really track prices on English like that. But
yeah,
dude, even on the Japanese side, like there's so much stuff that is so cheap, and like it's cheap when like nobody wants it, and then as soon as you can't go buy it anymore, then it gaps up out of nowhere and it's gone. You know, like dude, reverse hollows from like Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I remember those were dummy expensive because they're hard to grade. Um, no one kept them in good condition because they were one per pack. They were guaranteed. The surface scratches really easily. The centering isn't always great on the Heart Gold, Soul Silver stuff. And I still have some of like some decent Pokemon, and like I'm not lowering the price because I can't go replace that card, and like I don't want to go replace that card. Like for me to go find like the reverse hollow Typhlosion from whatever Soul Silver collection or whatever it is, like that stuff seems cheap to me. And there's some really nice Japanese promos, especially the old back stuff, that is still really cheap for how hard it is to grade. So
yeah,
even if you're just a collector and you don't really care about flipping or whatever, it's like, dude, if you put the work in, like there are some juicy, juicy pickups to be had, you know? So I don't know.
yeah,
It's not all lost. It's not all lost, is what I would say.
yeah. Very true. Um, I didn't ask you beforehand. Well, I did ask you beforehand, but I didn't ask you right before we started. There were a couple things that I asked that you brought to the table today. A little bit of homework. So I thought we could go through those now, if you have them available. So one of them was a hot take, and the other one was an act of kindness or something cool that happened either to you or you did or you observed in the hobby. So we can start with the hot take and then we can finish it up with the nice thing.
Okay. Okay. Uh, I don't know if it, well, maybe it is a hot take. I'm not entirely sure. I would just say, like, generally, I see a lot of people very, very married to their opinions and their stances on things and not willing to ever admit that they were wrong or willing to shift. And I think that the root of all that is a lot of people make decisions and formulate opinions in this space entirely based on their knee jerk emotional reaction to things rather than any sort of logic. And I think that that limits people more than anything. And I think that if you can figure out how to like divorce yourself from that, you can exploit that at a very high level.
Yeah,
And I thought that it would change over time. And if anything, it's only gotten worse. And the opportunity to exploit that has just become bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's maybe unfortunate. I don't entirely know, but like yeah, people make decisions emotionally in this space, and it's not good. It's not
yeah,
good. Like in it, people that make decisions based on data and logic will always outcompete people that are making decisions entirely based on their own like vibes or feelings or emotions. So I don't know if that's a hot
yeah,
take, but I see a lot of that, and I think that that really limits people. So I don't know. What do
yeah.
you think?
No, I think the way that I put it whenever I bring it up is divorcing your emotions from your money. Some people can't, like, if they spend money on something, they want to hear that that was a good purchase from somebody. Like, they have to have that validation because they're emotionally tied to it. Instead of just looking at the fundamentals, understanding the logic, and buying the thing and being like, I don't care what this person says about what I just bought. I know that it's a good thing, and like being confident in the purchase instead of needing that affirmation after the fact because they haven't thought about it logically. They're going fully based on vibes and emotion, and then they need that external approval from other people. Which, yeah, if you can divorce the emotion from your uh, from your wallet, you'll do, yeah, much better than if you're emotionally tied to your purchases, for sure. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, especially if it's like something that's medium to long term, it like you have to be okay with being outside of consensus. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, when I started, like, a lot of this stuff, like, I built out like a really big position in sealed Bandai boxes, and like nobody was talking about that. Like, Kai and I were probably the only people even interested in that. Everybody in our friend group, and everybody in our friend group was into like super niche stuff too, and they were making fun of us. You know what I'm saying? So like no one was there telling me that that was a good buy, right? And but it felt cheap based on like the understanding that I have of like, everything else in collectibles and different stuff in Pokemon and stuff. I was like, yo, these boxes seem way too cheap. Dragon Ball Z is like a massive IP, and like, I mean, there were other animes I was buying too, like One Piece and Naruto and stuff like that. But I was like, yo, like, I mean, at that time, Pokemon Bandai boxes were like $3,000 to $5,000, and I was picking up Dragon Ball Z ones for like $50 to $150, and that felt extremely cheap to me. I was like, there is no way, dude. Like, I understand that Pokemon is like vastly larger than Dragon Ball Z, but not like 20x maybe, and so like, and even now, like, there's stuff that I'm buying that like I have no intention on selling in the short term because it's sort of like a longer thesis macro sort of like collectible play, I guess you could say. But like, there's nobody telling me like this is a good buy, and you kind of have to like jump without a safety net and understand that. But like, I see people all the time, like a card will come out of the new set and they'll be like, that's too expensive, and it's like, based on what? Like, based on what? Like, you feel it's too expensive because you're uncomfortable spending 150, $200. Like, based on what? There's no back alley speakeasy that you can go to where people are going to pat you on the back and say, "Oh, you thought that was too expensive? Here, come buy it for 50% cheaper." Like, it'll all be okay. Everybody is buying that at the same price. Whether you value that relative to other things or not doesn't matter because you're not the market. The market is made up of billions of dollars and millions of people. So if you can divorce yourself from like your own idea of like what should hold value or whatever, you're going to do so much better because, newsflash, if you buy the card and it grades a PSA 10, you're going to make money. But if you sit there and go, "Oh, that's too expensive," you're not making anything. And the market isn't going to care that you thought it was is too expensive. The market is still going to buy the Cynthia's Garchomp for $500, which seems crazy when you can go buy a Poke Park Rayquaza for like 300 in PSA 10, which is infinitely more difficult to replace. You know what I'm saying? So, but like,
Yeah.
your opinion, not you, but like the Royal U's opinion doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that that card seems expensive at $200 out the gate or $250 or whatever it is raw, because guess what? It sold on eBay for $600 in a PSA 10. And again, there's no back alley speakeasy you can go to and be like, "Okay, I'm real smart. I know a lot about the market. I understand nuance, bro. I understand all the value and all that sort of stuff. This is way too expensive of a card." And they're gonna be like, "Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, I'm gonna let you buy these cards at $100." Everybody is dealing with the same exact market prices. Now, you might have better connections, or you might be able to, get a bulk deal here and there. But we're not talking about like a 50% differential. We're talking like maybe 10 to 15% max. And at the end of the day, like, if it grades a PSA 10, the 10 to 15% is like insignificant. So it doesn't matter anyways. And chances are, if you pay 10 to 15% less, you're going to wait longer to get the card. You know what I'm saying? So like, you being first to market, maybe you actually outcompete the person that got it for 15% less because you sold it for 20% more, being first to market, paying a little more. You see what I'm saying? So like, it's just all emotion, man. And it's just like, it's like if you can divorce yourself from the emotion, it just like you will do so much better. And people just get tied up and married to these opinions. Like, why? I mean, and I'm not even trying to be condescending here. Like, I used to do this stuff. I used to poo-poo sealed because I was grading cards and I thought sealed was stupid. I was like, dude, what am I going to do with 5%, 10% on flipping a sealed box when I can go sell a card and make 70%, 80% on my money? I was like, oh, sealed's stupid. I don't understand why people do sealed, right? And now sealed's like one of the biggest part of my business. So I've been able to pivot. I've been able to realize that I was a dum dum, that like I was stupid, that I had bad takes, and I've seen success from that. And a lot of people can. It's the same thing in like just in life, and like I don't want to get political, but like when people like get mad at people when they're like, oh, like you flip flopped or whatever, it's like, did you flip flop or did you just grow? Like, did you realize that like you're a human being and you can be wrong sometimes? But people get so married to their opinions, and I think part of that too is maybe because like they're focused on like who they are in the hobby, like they want to be somebody in Pokemon. And so they're so worried that like if they ever admit that like, yo, I was wrong about this, that would detract from like their platform or whatever, like within the hobby. And to me, like I don't care. Like I love this stuff, but like I don't give a shit about being somebody in Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like I don't really care. Like I'm not a massive. I don't even have 2,000 subscribers. So like I don't care. I'm willing to admit like, yo, I was a dummy over here. I was dead wrong about XYZ, and I'm able to pivot based on that. And I think that if more people were able to do that, like they'd see a lot more success. So yeah, I don't know if that's a hot take or if that's just like a rant or whatever, but like I see that so much, man, and it's like it's exploitable. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I wish people held themselves accountable more. I could probably do it more, and like just it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make a video and say, you know what, I was wrong about this, and just say like, I shouldn't have bought this card at this price. I should have known better because of X, Y, and Z reason, and actually think about why you lost the money, and because people are going to learn from that. People are going to learn from the fact that you lost money if you can actually figure out why and then tell that to your audience and be like, hey, this is why I lost on this sealed box or why I lost on this flip, because that's just going to help people too. It's going to help you and it's going to help people if you understand why it happened and you're willing to like accept that it happened instead of just yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And like not just your audience, but like you as well too. Like if you realize, yo, like I made a boo-boo here, I messed up big time, then like hopefully you don't make that same mistake again in the future. Like you'll realize like, oh, okay, like here's why I was wrong. It sucks. And it hurts to admit that you were wrong, especially when there's money attached to it, dude. For the longest time, I would refuse to take a loss on stuff. Like even like grading misses and stuff like that. I was like, if I'm losing money, I won't sell it. Wrong mindset. So,
Yeah.
and like I look back on that and I'm like, oh man, like I was such a dummy, but I was so caught up in the like, oh, I can't take a loss here, like I can't lose any money, even if I, got a 9 or an 8 or whatever. And now like now pretty much anything below a 9 I just send to auction. Like if PSA damages a card, which they've been doing a lot more lately, I'll just send it to auction. And I know it's going to be a L, but it's like of course it's an L. I got a 7 or a
Yeah.
6 because they dented it when they were putting the card in the thing. I know it wasn't a 6 when I sent it off for pre-grading, and I can see through the slab where they damaged it when they encapsulated the card. But like I can sit and whine about it and be mad about it, or I could just send it to auction and take whatever and get like a free positive feedback for it. You know what I mean? And so like I
Yeah.
used to do that stuff all the time too, dude. Like I hated taking a loss, like I hated being wrong on stuff. And like once I just kind of was like, and after you do it a couple times, like after you just sort of like rip the band-aid off, it becomes a lot easier. Like when you just kind of be like, oh, I lost on that card, and you just sell it and you move on. It's a lot easier to do that over and over and over again. But it's like that first couple times where it's like, ooh,
Yeah.
it hurts to lose money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like, um, but yeah, I think it's important to be able to, like I said, rip the band-aid off and just keep on going. So.
Yeah. Definitely. And then the whole act of kindness thing.
Oh,
Positive
okay, yeah.
experience.
So I mean, a lot of people have done like a lot of stuff uh for me to like. I mean, this I just got sent from this guy that I sell to through the wholesale, and I guess he watched my video where I talked about wanting to buy a Cybertruck, and he was like, hey man, like I really appreciate working with you. you know, like I want to send you a gift. And I was like, oh man, like you don't have to do that. And I was expecting it to be like some, you know, like little stickers or like some, I don't know, some Pokemon stuff or whatever. And then it turned out to be this, and I was super stoked. So like, there's a lot of people that have done nice stuff for me, uh, in the hobby. But like one interaction that like really stood out to me as like really wholesome was the first Orlando Collecticon I went to. Um, I'm really passionate. Like I mean I like Pokemon for sure, but like I would say I'm more passionate probably about DBZ, or like I get more enjoyment out of DBZ. It's like a nice little break from the Pokemon stuff. But it's more niche for sure. And the cool thing about Orlando is for whatever reason, at least at that Collecticon, there was like a lot of people really interested in DBZ. Anyways, at one point this guy came up and he was like with a group of his friends, and his friends like let me know that he was deaf. And so we were trying to like communicate because like he wanted a card. And so like I pulled out the notes section of my phone and was like typing and like, you know, trying to like communicate with him and stuff. And even with that, it was, you know, kind of tough to like make a deal and like understand like what he wanted. And like I was obviously like trying to be like really patient with him and figure out like exactly like what he was trying to communicate and stuff like that. And at one point, basically, I was like, okay, well, did you want like this for this? Because it was like, you know, maybe like partial trade, partial cash or whatever. And so I was trying to figure out like exactly what he was like looking to get and like what the deal would want to be. And he kind of like signaled like all of this for this kind of thing. And I was like, oh, okay, like this for this. And he would like just gave me a thumbs up and was like really happy. And like we made this transaction and traded and stuff. And it was just like really, I don't know. Like it was just really wholesome. Like it wasn't even about the cards. It was like being able to like connect with another human being on like a different level, even though there's these like barriers of communication. That like really stood out to me as like a wholesome interaction. And like when he was just kind of like when we finally like understood each other and he like gave me the thumbs up and smiled at me and was like super happy. It was just like a very wholesome moment, I guess. And I remember that being like very impactful, and that kind of like set the tone for the rest of the day and made me feel like very, I don't know, just yeah, like I said, it was just like a very wholesome, like cool human connection experience. That it wasn't really even about the cards. It was about like maybe something more than that. So um yeah, I would say that those are pretty positive experience.
Awesome. Super awesome. Um, we have a couple of questions and then we'll see where that takes us. We're getting close to the end. Let's see. Last personal collection purchase from each of you from the Green Shiz. EC purchase. Hold on, I'll grab mine.
He's about to flex on us with some crazy swirl or something.
No, actually, so this is from this past weekend. I was in Miami on Saturday and the MetaZoo booth was up and rocking, and they had these you get some packs and like a alpha promo card, holofoil card, and then it comes with this cool magazine for the show. And so I picked up one of these. Seemed pretty cool, and so it'll probably stay sealed on my shelf somewhere. So that's what I got recently.
Okay. I don't. Well, actually, the most recent thing I actually just bought from Kai. But it's actually another copy of this, which is like a old school DBZ Prism. This one's from '91. There's like a few different sets from like that specific style. It's called like Visual Adventure. But that's probably like the main thing that like I hold, I guess, for like the long term or collect or whatever you want to call it. Like I really enjoy that stuff a lot. And it's tough to find. Like it's really tough to find in good condition. Similar to like the Pokemon Cardos stuff, like the surface is like I mean, even those boxes, I'd open boxes and like I'd get eights, you know, from like BGS and PSA and stuff like that. Like the surfaces just come cooked. Like they're just deteriorated from like sitting for so long and being like sandwiched up with like 200 other cards up against each other and stuff like that. So the chase is like insane, and I think that that's kind of that kind of like gives me that little extra like, oh, like I really need to find that and keep that sort of, it's like finding like the cleanest possible copies, because they're not, it's not modern Pokemon, it's not E series, it's not like,
Yeah,
it's not PSA 10 fresh out of pack, you know what I mean? Like you can buy the cleanest, like it's, yeah, so I don't know, like I really enjoy that stuff for sure. So
nice, nice, nice. Son of a Merc with the toughest question of the night: pancakes or waffles?
I don't know, man. Chicken and waffles hits, so I might have
It
to go.
does. It does hit.
I might have to go with waffles for that one. Chicken and waffles is crazy. So
There is a place by me that has the best pancakes I've ever had. Like that crispy on the outside, the soft on the inside, just nails it every time. They're
like
so
nice and
good.
fluffy on the inside, nice and fluffy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But pancakes, chicken and waffles is amazing. I 100% agree. And that is really hard to beat. Really hard to beat.
Have you seen
Um,
the lady on Instagram? Her name's like Judy, and she runs like the cafe in Illinois, and she like makes all the memes. Oh my god, dude, this lady is
no.
amazing. She runs like a diner, you know what I mean? Like a breakfast foodie type diner or whatever, but she takes all these trending viral videos and then like edits them to be about like pancakes and stuff like that. Like it sounds kind of like cheesy, but it's really wholesome and cute. And I don't know, if I can find one, I'll send it to you after we get off. But she she's always like talking about like her pancakes. She's like, I have the best pancakes. Like come to my diner and stuff like that. It's really wholesome. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then I think, well, we'll see. We'll see. We got Quilly has a question. As your business grows, what are you doing with your extra capital to continue growing the business, since much of the wholesale is fulfilled via boxes from Japan that you didn't buy up front, if I understand correctly?
yeah, well, so part of that is like being able to, so I was talking about the TikTok thing, like me paying my buddy to run a TikTok for me is not going to make me like money. Like if I pay him like whatever for a week worth of work, that is not going to immediately translate into, you know, whatever I paid him plus like a percentage, right? But like it's an intangible thing, and it's like understanding what it's building out over the long term. Like me having a bigger social media presence means that like more people will go to like my eBay, more people will go to my website, more people will, you know, potentially hit me up for the wholesale. And so it's like seeing like what you can build out over time, even though it's not like an immediate return on capital invested. So like those are the kind of things that I'm looking at right now is getting that sort of stuff setting up, and then like spending money building those things out, so that I can focus on like on scaling on other things. Because if he's running my TikTok and more people are coming to me, then like I can buy more boxes, and so then maybe that like provides me with more leverage, and then I can like get prices cheaper for people, and then maybe me getting prices cheaper for people means that like even more people come to buy. You see what I'm saying? So it's this sort of like compound effect of like intangibles. But when you need to turn your every single dollar you have over immediately to sort of like survive, you can't really spend as much maybe like building out those intangible things that aren't really like an immediate return on capital. So um, yeah, that would be my answer.
So, if you could, it sounds like you would use some of that capital to increase your social media presence on places like TikTok and stuff to try and build like more of a marketing campaign towards your
Yeah,
sealed.
yeah, for sure. I also like I mean I'm buying a bunch now because you know what's going on, but like I think that like building out, having stock on hand, like a lot of stock on hand moving forward is um I don't really think anybody's doing that with Japanese product. Like I think, you know, like Brian and Rudy and stuff like that. Like I know that they're building out these like massive positions in English, and I know Brian has like a good amount of Japanese that he's probably put back for the long term. But like I don't think that anybody is like building out pallets and pallets and pallets of like Japanese Pokemon product for like the long term. and I think that that's like an interesting potential opportunity. Um, and again, for like situations like this where things come up or what, it's like obvious if you were sitting on like a shed full of pallets of Japanese Pokemon and Japanese Pokemon gaps up 10% in a week, I mean that's massive, right? And then if those other tariffs hit and we get another 24, I mean you're talking about 34% gain in like immediately. So if you had $1 million theoretically worth of like Japanese Pokemon product from nothing else, from like no appreciation or any sort of like other thing, just from like this intangible like shock to the market. I mean, you just made like $340,000 in inventory appreciation. You know what I mean? Doing like zero work. So sometime and like the first time that kind of like showed itself to me, I guess, is so Japan goes on a like a holiday at the end of the year for like a week. And so I stopped taking orders at the end of the year, and I didn't have like a ton on, like we already had like a ton on hand for like what I was doing with Dan, and so I was like, okay, I don't really need to like replenish stuff there. But I went off for a week, and when I came back, prices like gapped up crazy. And so like Brian being in a position where like a majority of his business is direct to consumer and stuff like that, like Brian saw like this massive appreciation on his inventory just sitting there, like doing nothing, because he had at the end of the year spent down a lot of like his profit to acquire more inventory so that his tax obligation, right? And so then when the new year came and, Japan came back online and all these prices had moved up, well, he had bought at all these old prices, offset his tax obligation, and had all this product that was now up like 10, 15, 20% in value, right? So like that was kind of like an eye-opening experience, and I wasn't, right, like I had to charge people more and then felt bad about it because like that's just how it works. And so that those things tend to happen more often than not. And it's not to say that everything just goes up forever, but if you make smart decisions and build out decent sized positions and just sort of like continue to dollar cost average, like you tend to do like history has shown that like you will do fairly well if you are liquid enough to sort of like ride it out. And so I think that that's like a potential attractive opportunity for sure. So I don't know. We'll see how that manifests itself, but that's something I've been thinking about for a while. So
Cool. Cool, cool. Mason, thanks you for the gifted sub. And Herblore did have a question about tariffs, but I believe we answered most of that, or we talked about the potentials of what could happen with tariffs a little bit earlier in the first hour. So if you want to go back and check that out, it's probably after the first 20, 30 minutes or so. We got into tariffs for a bit, so we don't have to retread ground. But I appreciate you coming on, Retro. This is a great place to kind of wrap up for the night. And I will say, tomorrow, or everyone pops out, tomorrow I believe I'm talking to DeGreen Shiz. So we'll have a whole new chat tomorrow with DeGreen Shiz, talk to him about his blossoming consignment business as well, his sealed consignments that he's been running. It'll be a great chat as well. But yeah, Retro, please tell us again where we can find you online and how the people can support you before we hop off.
yeah, again, appreciate you having me on, and I'm definitely excited to hear about Greeny's sealed consignment growth for sure. I'm excited to hear what he's been doing with all that. But yeah, at underscore retrospects on Instagram, and then just retrospects on YouTube. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then if you're going to be at Card Party West, definitely feel free to reach out. I'll be at Card Party West
Nice.
for sure, and hopefully maybe one or two other collecticons. Hopefully Charlotte again if things work out there, and then maybe like a Chicago one too. I really want to try the Chicago food, man. Chicago pizza, Chicago hot dogs.
It's good
Like
stuff.
Chicago's got that food, man. So I need to. I feel like I need to get out there for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome that you'll be at Card Party. Actually, my Japan trip butts up against Card Party, so I'm going to Card Party, staying with my brother in Seattle, and then I'm flying from Seattle to Japan, and then flying back. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole trip.
Little
Um,
little shorter of a trip though, right? Flying out of Japan instead of because you're in or
North
right? Yeah, am
Carolina.
I right?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It's like a 9 or 10 hour flight from Seattle. It's like a 6 hour. It's like a 5 hour, and then like a 12 hour from where I'm at. So
Okay.
it
Okay.
cuts
It
it
kind of
down a
works
lot.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it kind of works out for you.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, guys, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow with the talk with Greeny. And thank you very much again, Retro, for stopping in today. And we'll see you guys later. Have a good one. I think Dan is going to be live in like 4 minutes, so go over and check out his live tonight.